The CZ Model 512 22 Magnum semi-automatic rifle. Let's check it out. .22 Magnum is an excellent caliber for small game, for pests, and for smaller predators. It's one of those guns that just does a lot in the rimfire line that gets way above your .22 long rifle. It mimics a lot of the energy of a 9mm, so you do have some ballistic capability. But one of the problems with semi-automatic in the .22 Magnum has been reliability. But CZ has designed the Model 512, which has proven to be very reliable. This is the American model, which is a brand new model. It features the walnut stocks over the beechwood stock, but there's also a synthetic model. And the balance on this rifle, the CZ quality is just excellent, but the reliability is top notch. Out of about 400 rounds that we fired through this rifle, we had 0 malfunctions. So whether you're looking for a .22 long rifle or a .22 Magnum, CZ is making some really high quality rifles. First thing we want to do is make sure the gun is unloaded. We're going to relieve the magazine, check the chamber, and it's empty. Finding a good semi-automatic .22 Magnum is almost like the Holy Grail. You know, Ruger put out their 10/22 and .22 Magnum, had a lot of problems with them. They discontinued them, and there have been a lot of other companies, even in handgun form, trying to make .22 Magnum work. That's one of the things about CZ with the 512 series, not only for the .22 long rifle, but their .22 WMR, and with the blowback action, and you know, just a beautiful gun. I mean, CZ makes great quality firearms anyway. And now with the American version, which has an upgraded walnut stock, it just really has a great feel to it. Now the American version does not have sights. If you really want the sights, you can get the standard 512 series. But it does come with one of the 11mm rimfire rails, and we're going to attach some rings to this and put a scope on it. But I wanted to show it before I got the scope on here. The action is really smooth. And of course with .22 rimfire, typically, you know, there's not a lot of recoil. The recoil springs are fairly light. But we've got a smooth action. The magazine has a little catch right here, and it comes right out. That's one of the things too about rimfire rifles typically is it's a little bit of a trick to pull your magazine out. But with the CZ, it's really easy. It's a 5-round polymer magazine. They do have steel magazines available from CZ if you really want to go that route. But this seems to be really a smooth feeding magazine. And it is fairly flush fit with the 5 rounds. Now if you want to go with 10 rounds, which they do offer a 10-round magazine as well, they go in, and it does hang out just a little bit at the bottom, but it gives you those extra rounds with .22 Magnum. It has an aluminum upper receiver, which is 70-75 T6 aluminum, very high grade. The lower is a polymer lower, and it incorporates a trigger guard, but your trigger and your safety are metal. You have your charging handle. It's just a small black charging handle, pulls back really easily. Now the standard 512 comes with a beechwood stock. This is a walnut and has a beautiful grain to it. And then we have checkering right here at the pistol grip. Here at the forearm, very narrow, checkering all the way down. The wood is just gorgeous. And it does come with a sling swivel, which you can attach a bipod here as well. With the older beechwood stocks, it came to more of an angle right here. This is rounded off. Very nice. I mean, this rifle, just pulling it out, it's just a beautiful, very streamlined rifle. plastic butt pad with the CZ logo. It has checkering on here to keep it on your shoulder. And also sling swivel here at the back. Now the original version, if the gun was on safe, you couldn't bring the charging handle all the way back or the bolt back. But they went ahead and relieved that. A lot of people were complaining because if you have it on safe and you can't pull your charging handle back and you're having to do it on fire, you know, that is a little bit of a safety issue. So CZ fixed that. Comes right back. Now on an empty magazine, it will not hold the bolt open. But that's typical for a lot of your 22 rimfires. The barrel is cold hammer forged, which is really high quality. It's going to give you a lot of barrel life. It is a 20.5 inch barrel. Overall length is just under 40 inches at 39.3 inches. And the weight on the rifle without the scope and without the sights is about 5 pounds, 12 ounces according to my scale. Now we're going to check trigger pull. A little bit of take up and a nice little snap. This trigger is very smooth. I mean, there is no creep, nothing. I mean, it's smooth and then it breaks. Not the sharpest break like you know, like a really fine pistol. Ah, that's nice, very nice. Let's check reset. Right there. Yeah, and no over travel at all. Now we're going to check the trigger pull weight. 3 pounds, 9.5 ounces. Three pounds, 12 ounces. 3 pounds, 5.6 ounces. So about the 3.5 pound mark. Okay, we've mounted our scope. It's one of the Nikon Monarchs. It's a 4x16, so we're really going to be able to get pinpoint accuracy to test out the rifle. These are on the steel CZ rings. Now, choosing between the 22 long rifle and the 22 Magnum, we're just going to talk about some of the advantages of both. 22 long rifle, very common, less expensive, and there's a ton of different choices out there. 22 Magnum can be a little more difficult to find at times. It is a little more expensive. They're both 40 grain bullets, and we're looking actually at the CCI Maxi Mag hollow point here, and then the 22 CCI Mini Mag here to give you a kind of more of a comparable comparison. There's a ton of different offerings out there. This just gives you a reference point. The velocity on the 22 Magnum is 1,875 feet per second, whereas your 22 Mini Mag is 1,235 feet per second. So we have about a 640 difference in velocity. 312 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle with the 22 Magnum. With your 22 long rifle, 135 foot-pounds. So quite a bit, over twice as much with your 22 Magnum. We're going to get out to 25 yards. It's 267 versus 119. And then we're going to move right out to 100 yards. 166 foot-pounds for your 22 Magnum versus 88 foot-pounds with your 22 long rifle. Now, as far as bullet drop at 100 yards, the 22 Magnum's dead on. You're going to lose 3.3 inches with your 22 long rifle. At 200 yards, we're going to drop about 17 inches, but we're going to drop 32 inches at 200 yards with 22 long rifle. Now, we headed out to the range to do some accuracy testing with the rifle, shooting from 50, 100, and then out to 200 yards. Really, the effectiveness of this rifle is out to about 150 to 175 yards, but the 200 yards is easily doable. And with this scope especially, we were using this Nikon and getting the great magnification and just the clarity of the glass really made it nice. Now, it was a pretty windy day, and when we were getting out to distance, the bullet seemed to shift. But still, at 200 yards, we were hitting steel with ease. We're going to be shooting some 40 grain Federal Premium 22 Winchester Magnum. This is just their plinking ammo. This should be great for getting some accuracy. I want to thank Federal Premium for sending the 22 Magnum. This stuff is fairly difficult to find. Hopefully it's coming back though. Well, that trigger's quick.
But it hit paper.
Huh?
It hit paper.
Yeah, I know, but that trigger, man, I wasn't expecting it. Now, a couple of the groups that we shot, we were using Federal 40 grain, just regular, their plinking load. And this was Robbie's group right here. And just a little jagged hole. This was at 50 yards. This is mine. I think this may be the first time I've ever outshot Robbie. He is a great shot. But this was the group, the best group of the day. And we were going to do some more testing, but a guy stopped by and just started talking, and we just didn't get to doing some more paper. But we did shoot steel. And so we shot it at 100 yards, and then we moved it out to 200 yards. Definitely took out his right shoulder.
Yeah.
Man, those first ones are dead on. Where were you holding?
Left side of the head.
Okay, that's the steel target that we were shooting at 200 yards. Bring it up, show you where we are. There's 100 yard, and then here's the rifle. There we go. That's a 200. We have this thing sighted in dead on, but at 200 yards there's some spin drift, and the wind's up pretty good. We were actually aiming about 6 inches over the head and on that duplex reticle, using the heavy bottom line to line up to hit right here. The CZ magazines, even though they are polymer, they fed just super well. The way they fit into the gun is just really positive, and a lot of times with rimfire, sometimes you have some finagling that you have to do, but not with the CZ. As long as you get it in the mag well, you're good to go. Really easy to bring out and really easy to insert. The reliability on this gun was perfect. I mean, we didn't have any malfunctions at all. It just fed. And so that really makes for a great day of range shooting, especially when you're testing it out at rapid fire. Now this rifle, you know, it's really more of a traditional type rifle, but we could fire 10 rounds as fast as you could pull the trigger and not one hiccup. Now you'll notice this large head screw at the front of your forearm. This is made to disassemble, and you can take a coin like this, a quarter, or you can take a screwdriver and just turn it. You can turn it like this. You want to make sure you don't mar your wood. I took a screwdriver the first time, it was a little tight. This pulls right out. Then you can pull your forearm right off. One thing that you'll note is right here there's a small little bar that locks into the receiver, and this really keeps this steady. A lot of times rimfire rifles, these can get loose. It's going to give you a little extra support. Now you'll notice the block right here that the screw is inserted in. This means it's not a free float barrel, but you're only shooting, you know, from 0 to about 150, 175, 200 yards max. And that's not quite as important, and we're still getting really good accuracy with this rifle. Now this is your takedown tool, so we're going to use it to push this pin through. I'll tell you guys, the first time I did it, I had to use a punch because it was pretty tight, but I've since been able to do it without it. push it all the way through, and then take your pin and you can pull it out. Then you can remove your screw. Now take your thumb at the receiver part right here and just push, and it should come straight out. And then once you get to where your charging handle is, you can pull out your charging handle. Go ahead and start to pull your upper receiver, but hold on to your bolt. Just keep your finger on it, keep pressure on it. Now on the 22 long rifle model, it has dual recoil springs and guide rods. On the 22 Magnum, we only have one. So you're going to pull your bolt back and then just lift up. Now be careful, because that spring tension right there. You don't want to bind that recoil spring. Now we have the spring, and then we have the rod, and then you have this small piece here. On the 22 long rifle, it's actually a U shape, but this is without it. And this little brace, when you put it back on, you're going to want to make sure the open area is on top. And it fits right into this little groove. As you can see, this is a really beautifully machined, beefy bolt. The rails here are actually polymer, but they're very strong. This is a fiberglass reinforced polymer, and really there's not a lot of tension on this bolt, so this should be fine. And it really rides inside these rails. It doesn't ride on the outside of the rails, so it just smoothly moves back and forth. And it's a short stroke blowback, so very easy on the action. Okay, here you can see the internals, and the trigger is non-adjustable according to CZ. The great thing about this is it's very easy to clean. You can get in here, clean out your internals, and of course with your barrel, running your bore brush from the chamber side, very easy to do, keep clean, and you can just see the inside. This gun is made very well. I mean, everything is finished very nicely. And that's all you need to do to field strip the gun. Now as far as the guide rod and the recoil spring, take your little buffer, bring it over, and then set your spring on. This is going to fit actually right here in the top. But before we do that, we've got to put it in the hole here at the bolt. Be careful not to bind that spring. And guys, just try to bring it in as straight as you can, getting the recoil spring, the rod, into the bolt before you start to place it. And then set it down. Making sure that this is lined up correctly and holding on to your bolt. Now we're going to slide our upper receiver over the top. Now once it's over the top, it should hold it in place. And we're going to get it to where the hole comes here so we can return our charging handle. Make sure that the two grooves on each side are up and down, not side to side. If it is, it'll bind when you try to push it back in. And then bring it back, and it locks into place. Now we're going to take our pin and we're going to place it back in. May need a little help with our screw, and if you can't get it, I think you can tap it. It's a little tough going in, so I'm going to tap it with my hammer. Non-marring hammer, that is. And we've got it back into place. Take your forend up at the receiver first and then lock it. Bring your screw in. Finger tighten down until you get to a place where you need your coin or screwdriver. Yes, this is a Canadian quarter. That's just what I had available. I think a dime would work as well. Tighten it down good. Make sure you're good and secure. Yeah, that's rock solid. Check for function. Everything looks good. As far as prices go, the 22 Magnum runs $510 on the CZ website. I found it in a couple of places for about $470, maybe a little bit less. Then for the 22 model, the retail is $480, and found one for about $440. And then they make a couple of other different versions. Of course, they still make the Beechwood stock, it runs less. They do have sights on those. They also make a carbine model in a synthetic stock, and they make a tactical model that's in ATI stock and furniture. So there's a number of different ones. They even have longer magazines. I know in the 22 long rifle. I'm not positive on the 22 Magnum. Now, I was using steel rings from CZ on the aluminum receiver. I probably would like to maybe go back to aluminum rings. One of the problems that I had was during the shooting, the gun actually dropped. We dropped it off the bench, and when we did, I didn't even notice it, but the scope shifted all the way out to where this ring was actually about right here. What's really funny is I was still getting good accuracy with only one ring. But here are some shots of me shooting it with one ring. I just felt like it would be a little bit of a comic relief. And of course, I didn't notice it until I put the picture on Instagram and somebody brought it up. So you can go to czusa.com to find out more information about all the different models that they do have. They have a number of different rimfires, but they also have centerfires as well, bolt action, semi-automatic, and shotguns. So while most of us know all about the CZ handguns, the CZ rifles are just a classic and very well-made, beautiful guns. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. To the CZ line, and now we've mounted our scope with a Nikon Monarch. It's a 3x9, and we're going with, is that right? 3x9? No, it's 4x16. One thing you're going to notice right up front too, this is, so what we're going to do is just lift it up. Okay. Dang it. Like so. If you want a good day at the range, CZ makes it easy.